Asa friends, welcome back to Hobby Vomit. It's me, Matt, and welcome back to another Weekly Retch. So if you noticed, last week, Ian actually took over for doing the Weekly Retch. So I think we're going to be rotating every other week. Kind of gives us more to talk about when it's like a 2-week span rather than one, especially because there are some weeks where we don't do any of the certain category, as you'll see. So yeah, let's get right into it. Weekly Retch. What is the Weekly Retch? I just talk about what movies I watched, what books I read, and what games I played in the last 2 weeks now. So let's get right into it with movies. I have seen one movie in the last 2 weeks, or I guess technically two. So the first movie was The Lighthouse by Robert Eggers. And you will see we're actually posting our movie discussion for that tomorrow. So that's exciting with Jonesy, Ian, and I. So that's coming out tomorrow, so keep an eye out for that. And then I went and saw Mickey 17 with Bree and really enjoyed that. So Lighthouse I gave a 4 out of 5, to spoil, I guess. And Mickey 17 I gave a 3.5 out of 5. I liked Mickey 17. It was especially fun to watch right after The Lighthouse to see just the type of range that Robert Pattinson has. I really, really like Robert Pattinson. But Mickey 17, there's some like really ham-fisted political views, which, you know, to be fair, I agree with them. I just don't want it to dominate my media all the time. And so it was a little over the top. And didn't love that, but it was good. I'm glad I watched it, and I had a good time. But yeah, so those are the two movies I saw in the last 2 weeks, hitting that one movie per week pace. And we did decide, well, actually, we picked a movie for the following movie club, but I think we're actually going to veto that. And so I haven't decided what movie we're going to do just yet for the next movie club discussion, but I'm thinking I'm just going to choose The Greatest Showman because it's streaming. Basically, I dropped Netflix, and so we're trying to figure that out. And our Marble Race chose another another horror movie, and I think everyone kind of just wants a break from that. So maybe we'll just pivot to the complete opposite of that, which is The Greatest Showman. I've never seen it. Don't know if I'll like it, but it could be a fun one. So yeah, those are the movies that I watched in the last 2 weeks. Now we're going to get to the meat, which is the books I've read. I've been on a bigger reading kick than normal, I would say. Maybe not. I mean, I've been reading a lot, but I kind of been kicking it into overdrive. So, books. I finished 2 books since the last time we talked. The first being Speaks the Nightbird by Robert McCammon. I finally finished it. You'd seen it on the Weekly Retch for many weeks. It was a chonker, man. It was a chonker. But absolutely loved it. There was a moment when I crossed the halfway point, maybe like the 3/4 point, and there was a decision that was made by Robert McCammon I did not agree with, and I thought it was going to really hurt the ending. It ended up not really hurting the ending as much as I thought, but it did knock it down a little bit. I was thinking starting that second half we were going to be a 5 out of 5. It was not a 5 out of 5. But you'll have to wait for the review to see what I think of it. So that review is coming out a week from Tuesday. So not this Tuesday, the following Tuesday. Why not this Tuesday? Because I finished another book, and I finished that book first. And that book review is coming out this Tuesday. And that is The Engineer by Will White, which is the second book in the Last Horizon series. And this was like my audio book while I walk / my nighttime read. And I finished this up, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, it was very... I said the first book kind of felt like an anime in space, and I think that kind of holds true here. It's almost like an epic fantasy anime superheroes in space. I don't know how to describe it beyond that. It's kind of just like a ragtag crew, but they all have very different abilities. So like one of them's like a wizard, essentially. One of them has a cool like suit that rewards the user for doing cool things, essentially, and lets them upgrade it with credits. One of them can call down like a big Power Ranger mech Titan. So they're all kind of very different, and then they're working together to go on a quest, essentially. So got to finish that up. I enjoyed it. you'll see what my review rating of that was on Tuesday. But generally positive. All right, so what books am I currently reading? So the first book, I only brought the dust jacket because I didn't want to bring the whole book, so we take off the dust jacket when we read hardcovers. But I'm reading Holly by Stephen King with Bree. This is one of the 2 books we're doing for our breeding. Now, Holly, I was excited for Holly because I've been getting into Stephen King. She's been getting into Stephen King. We did the Bill Hodges trilogy. We did The Outsider. We did not Let It Bleed, If It Bleeds. And now, after Holly, we will be completely caught up on Holly Gibney's character arc until Never Flinch comes out. So, yeah, I'm excited for that. I will say we're about a little over halfway through. I'm enjoying it, certainly. I mean, I know there are people out there that have Stephen King books that they hate. I've not come across one. Even like his worst for me is still a very good book. So I think this kind of lands there. It's good. It's really good. But as someone that doesn't love crime, I'm ready to get back into the other sides of King. I'm feeling a little exhausted with Holly as a character, and this is her first outing as the main character of a book. She was the main character of If It Bleeds, but that was a novella. She carried it really well, I think, as you can see in my review. But I was still interested to see how she would carry a whole, a big novel. And so far, I don't know if she can. And I think it's kind of proven because while she is the main character, I think she still technically is like sharing half of this book with other characters. And she doesn't really feel like a main character. She still kind of feels like she did in The Outsider, which is like a half main character, more like a supporting role. But she's kind of on her own in this one. So it's an interesting dynamic. I'm not in love with it, certainly. I think really enjoying the plot, though, for the most part. It's not a super fast-paced book or anything, but I'm enjoying it. I like the character work as always. So, yeah, we'll probably be finishing this. We will probably be finished with this by the time I do my next Weekly Retch, which will be in 2 weeks. So that's the first book that Bree and I are reading. I only have the next book on my Kindle or Kobo, so here it is. I'm not gonna do any editing or anything, but you can pretend that you can see Lonesome Dove on my Kobo right here. So Lonesome Dove, yeah. We are reading Lonesome Dove together, along with my family for a family book club. And that's been great. So we did the first part, it's broken down into 3 parts, the book. We did part 1 in like January, February, kind of January, the first half of February. And now we're doing part 2 in the second half of February and through the end of March. And then after that, we will be discussing part 2 and then jumping into part 3. But man, oh man, we're not done with part 2. We're probably a couple chapters away. And it has ramped up. It's getting really good. I loved part 1, even though arguably almost nothing happens in part 1. It's just a ton of character work, but incredible character work that, slice of life stuff. You're just getting to know this large cast of characters. And then part 2 is when things start actually happening, and it's very, very good. I can see why it won the Pulitzer. So really enjoying it. Can't wait to wrap up part 2 and can't wait to get into part 3. It's kind of right now, at least for Bree and I. So we're reading the 2 books together. I think she's enjoying Holly a little bit more, and I'm definitely enjoying Lonesome Dove a lot more, I would say. Holly, I think I'll finish and I'll be like, that was good. And I won't think about it much. I think Lonesome Dove is going to stick with me forever. It's just incredible. So really loving Lonesome Dove. Okay, and then I'm reading 2 more books. These are the 2 books I'm kind of reading on my own. So the first book I'm reading on my own is The Justice of Kings by Richard Swan. Pretty, not a super chonker or anything. I pre-ordered his new book, Grave Empire, the Broken Binding edition, because I'm a sucker for nice-looking books, and I'm getting into that now, which is dangerous. But, because I'm smart, I did that without reading his other books. So I don't even know if I like Richard Swan. But I'm happy to report I'm about halfway through and loving it. Very, very good. It's funny because I've not read Speaks the Night Bird follows a magistrate and his clerk going to a town in the Carolinas in 1699 to basically carry out a witch trial. And I was like, man, that's cool. I've never read anything like that. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to start Justice of Kings. And what do you know? It starts out with a magistrate and their clerk going to a town to find a witch. And I was like, no way. What are the chances of that? But this is certainly more fantasy. It is a fantasy book, and it has strayed from that plot. It's a lot about justice and what justice means and how law in an empire kind of can conflict with religion and faith. And that's been really fun. And there's some cool powers that are unique to some of the justices. Really cool. I think the character work's good. Not in love with first-person storytelling, but I think it's handled pretty well here. So, yeah, that's the Justice of Kings. I will be done with that as well by the next Weekly Retch that I have. And finally, I know I mentioned that these are the 2 books I'm reading alone. Technically, I'm not reading this alone. I'm reading this with a buddy. I'm doing a buddy read. It is his first Stephen King, and I've not read this before, Revival by Stephen King. Now, I don't know, when I picked this up, I kind of was chatting with him about, like, well, what would you want to read? So we decided he wanted to do something standalone. And then I was like, well, I'm loving Stephen King, and he hasn't read any. I think he said that he read Gunslinger in high school, but it's been a long time. And, you know, honestly, Gunslinger doesn't even feel like Stephen King, to be fair. So I was like, I mean, this is a newer one. People seem to like it. It was between this and Fairy Tale. He chose this because all I know is I think this is supposed to be more horror than Fairy Tale. So, yeah, he chose that, and we were just a couple chapters in, but oh my gosh, very, very good. Like always, you know, I was a little nervous because I was like, man, I don't hear this one talked about quite as much as something like Fairy Tale. I hear a lot more about Fairy Tale from his modern works. And so I was like, man, I hope this doesn't, like I said earlier, I don't think any Stephen King's going to like suck, but I was hopeful that I was going to get his hooks in him because he used to be a big reader, has kind of fallen off reading, and I'm hoping to hook him back in so we can do some more buddy reads. And so, yeah, I chose this. I was like, all right, hope it's good. I have no idea what it's about. I try not to read the backs of books before I read them. And we're both, I think at this point, as of today, like 3 chapters in, but they're big, you know, obviously you can kind of see they're big chapters. And it's very good. Like normal, it's just slice of life character work by Stephen King, but next level and as always. And this one's dealing with religion and faith and the struggle with that, so far at least. And it's really good. I'm not going to spoil anything about what's happening, but really, really enjoying it. I'm not sure what pace we're going to do, so I'm not sure if we'll be done with this by the next Weekly Retch. I would imagine in 2 weeks we'll probably knock this out. So, yeah. I'm going to have a whole new slew of books next time, hopefully, since I'll be wrapping up. We'll be done with Lonesome Dove Part 2. I'm not sure if we'll start Part 3 right away. We'll definitely be done with Holly. I'll be done with Justice of Kings, and there's a good chance I'm done with Revival. So it might just be a whole... Oh, more important book news. Ian and I will probably... I'm hopeful that we will be starting Dead House Gates. By the time I talk to you in 2 weeks, we will have started Dead House Gates. We're a little behind, but I think what we're going to do, I'm sure you've heard me talk about it here, we're just going to go through all of Malazan, and each book is broken down into 4 books or 4 parts. And every 2 weeks, I think we're going to start. We might accelerate that pace, but I think for now, 2 weeks is the right call. Every 2 weeks, we are going to individually read one part of the next book that we're reading together. And then we'll get on here and do a discussion about that. So in the next couple weeks, you'll start seeing Ian post his solo discussions on Book 1, Gardens of the Moon, since I've already read it. He's currently reading that, so he'll start posting those, and then we'll get together on Dead House Gates, and from there to the end, we'll do the book discussions together. So yeah, that's what's upcoming for books. Additionally, I believe is also doing book discussions for he and his wife are listening to Dungeon Crawler Carl. So I think he's going to be doing like part breakdown discussions on that as well. I'm not sure when those are going to come out or if he's even doing them for sure, but I think it's a possibility. So possibly keep an eye out for that. And then our last section games. What games did I play in the last 2 weeks? I played 4 games. So nothing super crazy, but 4 games. Three of those were on. None of these were played as a physical game, actually. Oh, you know what? There's a 5th game. So let me start with the one game I played in person, physical copy. Ian and I started another Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era campaign. We got about halfway through our first session of 3. So we'll probably finish that over the next month or so, I'm guessing. It's a long game, so at some point we'll continue that. Then I played 3 games on Board Game Arena, which is just a browser-based website where you can play board games. So I played King of Tokyo Duel with Jonesy, which is really fun. I love King of Tokyo. I mean, is it the best game? No. It was the very first game I bought ever, and I'll never get rid of it for that reason. But it's basically like you're each playing some individual kaiju in Tokyo. And it's kind of just like a beat-em-up game where you use a Yahtzee style of rolling dice to try and either be the last monster standing, you beat each other up, or to reach like 20 fame. I can't remember what it's actually called, but like fame points. But normally it's not a 2-player game. It's every 3 or 4, and it's the last one standing. Everyone's attacking the monster that's currently in Tokyo, and when the monster in Tokyo attacks, he hits everybody that's not in Tokyo. So it's a fun little game. You can buy little cards and upgrade and stuff. And then King of Tokyo Duel, it's the same deal. They just have modified it to fit a 1v1 mode of play, and I think they did a great job. Still got the Yahtzee-style rolling of dice, but now each monster has a unique ability that's unique to them, and then there are 2 little like tracks that you can move across, kind of like a tug of war. And so that's a new win condition. If you pull one of those tracks all the way to the end, you win. Or right before the end, there's like 2 or 3 little spots called the spotlight area. And if you have both tracks in that area, you win. So there's 3 win conditions. Super quick little, 15-minute game maybe, but had a really good time. And would like to play that again. Okay, let's see what else I played. With Jonesy, again, I played Fromage. Fromage is a cool little game. I guess it is kind of like a Euro. It's a very light Euro in which you are making cheese, I suppose. I will say I've seen some criticisms where this game doesn't have a lot of theme, and I would agree with that. But I don't really care about theme in Euros. I play a lot of Stefan Feld games, and as long as it's fun, I don't care. I know some people need theme in their game. I certainly don't, and it doesn't knock it by any means for me. So take that for what you will. But it is a game where you are making cheese, and the cool part about the game is that the board is a circle. It's a big circular board cut into 4 quadrants, and that board rotates. So when you play each turn, you're playing simultaneously, and you're only playing in the quadrant that is currently facing you. Then at the end of the turn, it will rotate. Now you're playing in the new quadrant that's in front of you. So I already love that. I love spinning boards. But the other cool thing is when you take your workers, you have 3 workers, and the workers can be oriented any way. They kind of look like a piece of cheese, essentially like a wedge of cheese. And they can be oriented in different positions depending on where you put them. So the better spots usually... the way it works is after you rotate the board, any workers of yours on the board anywhere, if they are facing you now, like the wedge is pointing towards you, you get to take that worker back. So essentially you're going to get your worker back in either 1, 2, or 3 turns. The more powerful spots take 3 turns for them to come back. And that's really it. Each quadrant is its own little mini game. So one's like an area control. One is you're trying to go to as many different spots as you can. What were the other 2 spots? I don't remember, which I think is part of the problem that I have with the game. The mini games I don't think are that exciting. I think coupled with the puzzle of what you're trying to manage those workers of yours and get your cheese out, I think that is fun. But I wish the mini games had a little bit more meat on the bone. But still, I still really enjoyed my play, and I would like to play it again. And there is a new Kickstarter for their standalone sequel expansion thing called Formaggio, and it comes with 4. It's basically its own new game. And from what I understand, it's got very similar. The gameplay is almost identical, except for the quadrants are new, and they do have a little bit more meat on the bone. So I'm excited to try that at some point. But yeah, if you want like a light Euro, super easy to play. I would say a fair amount of replayability, it seems. I can't say I've only played it once. It seems like there's a lot of replayability, but I could also see it getting stale after a few games. It just really depends on kind of your asymmetrical powers that you can get. But I would like to play it again. So that was Fromage. I think so. Let me just give these off the top of my head ratings. So King of Tokyo Duel, I think a solid 7.5. Fromage, I think also a 7.5 for me right now. Both solid scores. And then solo, I played the Guild of Merchant Explorers. This is essentially a map making, I assume, or I guess. It's kind of like, imagine a map with a bunch of hexes on it, and you're charting routes on that map. So route building, map building, whatever you want to call it. And it plays a lot like a roll and write, but instead of rolling dice and marking these with a pencil, you're flipping cards and marking spaces with a cube. And so in solo, you essentially have these goals you need to meet, and you have to meet a point threshold. So I played that, had a really good time. It's a great game. I think, board games are so interesting because there's a lot of people, including myself, that I'm like, I like board games because of the physical components and getting to touch those and move things around and not having to deal with screens. And I feel like that. But I think there are a lot of games, and now I would include Guild of Merchants Explorers in that, in which it's just so much better on a digital implementation. Like, it's just so much better. I don't have to pull it out. I can play the game in 12, 15 minutes. It cleans up for me. A game that's normally fiddly because you're putting a bunch of cubes on a little map and you can bump them and stuff. It's just so much easier on BGA. So take that for what you will. I really like Guild of Merchant Explorers. This would be an 8 out of 10 for me. And then lastly, Ian and I have done some more Dwarf Romantic on our TTS save. We have now unlocked everything, and now we're chasing that high score of a 400 plus. We've gotten very close. I think we got 392 the last time we played. But we're going to get it. We haven't gotten it yet, but we're going to get it. And then, that'll probably end our Dwarf Romantic campaign, and then I'm not sure what we're going to do next. So Dwarf Romantic, I mean, I put it, I think it's like an 8.5 for me, maybe a 9. It's just, I've played it maybe 50 times now. I've played the hell out of that game, and it's great every single time. It's just, it does exactly what it's trying to do. It's not trying to be anything else, and it's just great. So yeah, and that wraps it up. Let me talk about what things are coming up this week. Tomorrow, Monday, will be our Lighthouse discussion with Jonesy, Ian, and I. Tuesday will be my book review for The Engineer. Wednesday will hopefully be some Malazan book discussion, Gardens of the Moon, with just Ian. And that might be it for the rest of the week. Saturday might be a follow-up discussion, so we might start posting 2 a week until we get caught up to book 2. And then Sunday will be Ian's Weekly Retch. So yeah, that is it. That's what's coming up. And that is also what I watched, read, and played in the last 2 weeks. So yeah, thank you so much for being here for our Weekly Retch. And we will see you next time. Thank you, and goodbye.